From some talents not being down with dying at the hands of a specific co-star, to legendary actors not fully getting behind the battering of a martial arts icon, these performers have all provided Quentin Tarantino with more than a few cinematic speed bumps over the years. Gareth here from WhatCulture.com, and here are the 10 most unusual demands made by Quentin Tarantino actors. Number 10. Jamie Foxx will only use his own horse. Django Unchained. In the case of one Jamie Foxx coming into 2012's Django Unchained, upon landing the leading titular role in the incoming Tarantino western, the Collateral and Ray star saw this as the perfect moment to get a hoofed member of the family in on the action. Foxx would note that he'd been gifted a horse named Cheetah for his birthday 4.5 years before signing on for Django, with the multi-talented performer learning to ride ever since. Sure enough, when bumping into QT and discussing his Unchained idea, Foxx was quick to note, well, I happen to have my own horse. So instead of being saddled with a random stunt horse for the duration of filming this star-studded western salute, Foxx managed to use his top build status to squeeze his very own Cheetah into the movie-making mix, and can be seen riding as Pride and Joy, who goes by Tony in the flick throughout the film. The perks of being a star, eh? Number 9. Eddie Bunker didn't agree with having breakfast in public. Reservoir Dogs. Convicted felon and eventual crime fiction novelist Eddie Bunker knew a thing or two about robbing banks by the time he was cast in Reservoir Dogs. Having been at the center of a number of bank robbery attempts in real life, Bunker was quick to note how he didn't find a number of QT's details in the feature realistic in the slightest. Firstly, as he would later note in an interview with Empire magazine, Bunker would never have been happy to execute a bank robbery with 5 people he'd never met, and therefore likely didn't trust. On top of this, Eddie also felt that choosing to sit and have breakfast whilst dressed in their distinct suits would have been a foolish move too, as witnesses nearby would have likely remembered seeing a bunch of similarly dressed lads chowing down on bacon before the eventual bank blitzing. But this inside knowledge still couldn't do much to convince Tarantino to steer clear of his chosen previously unacquainted colors, coming together for a quick bite pre-heist. Number 8. Quentin Tarantino insists on performing his own choking. Kill Bill and Inglourious Basterds. While he obviously finds himself behind the camera for the most part, that still hasn't stopped Quentin Tarantino from wiggling his way in front of it from time to time. But in the case of the following set of bizarre demands, most fans weren't actually aware that they were witnessing the result of some unusual Tarantino requests coming to life before their very eyes. That's because when it came time for Diane Kruger and Uma Thurman to be choked and spat on in the latter's case, during the shooting of Inglourious Basterds and Kill Bill respectively, it was only the director's hands that were ultimately visible on screen. Feeling that for the sake of realism and getting the shots he desired, it must be him to genuinely perform these barbaric acts in a fictional setting, the director has rightly invited his fair share of criticism for very much performing the choking of both women on screen. And while Tarantino would add in a conversation with Deadline how the choking of Thurman in particular with a chain in Kill Bill was apparently her idea, it still makes for uncomfortable viewing and a highly problematic occurrence upon looking back. Number 7. Kurt Russell wants a more Western film. Django Unchained. Returning to Quentin Tarantino's take on all things Western now, and to another frequent Tarantino collaborator who very nearly rocked up alongside the likes of Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz in the eventual 2012 hit. However, Death Proof's Kurt Russell had one particular demand that was ultimately something of a deal-breaker when it came to his overall involvement on the project, and the fact Tarantino seemingly couldn't deliver what the grizzled cinema veteran wanted eventually paved the way for his exit from the picture. As it goes, Russell was said to have felt that Django Unchained simply wasn't Western enough for his liking, along with the actor being unhappy with his role. Russell's departure from the film in the part followed on from Kevin Costner's dropping out of Ace Woody duties due to scheduling conflicts too. In the end, Kurt's desire for Django to be more Western would lead to Walter Goggins absorbing much of said Ace role into his part of Billy Crash. Number 6. Zoe Bell wouldn't let anyone else perform her stunts. Death Proof. While she very much earned her chance to shine in an acting capacity upon being cast as herself in Tarantino's 2007 petrol-fueled thriller Death Proof, that didn't mean that Zoe Bell was above getting her hands dirty when the director called action. In fact, even when the action didn't necessarily show off Bell's face squirming and gurning her way through the high-speed exchanges in the flick, the actor/world-class stuntwoman told Tarantino where to go when he attempted to bring a second stunt performer on board to fill in for said dangerous beats. Viewing it through the lens of someone being hired solely to execute the stunt scene in the likes of Bell's bumper-bashing bout of rage with Kurt Russell's stuntman Mike, the Uma Thurman Kill Bill stunt double insisted that the stunts she was tasked with executing were the sort that she would be happy to take part in had someone else been cast in her role, and she was simply acting as their chosen double. Not one to refuse the chance to take things up a notch, Tarantino happily obliged his stunt muse. Number 5. Michael Keaton tries to convince the director to cast someone else. Jackie Brown. Most actors would likely give their right arm to share a movie set with the iconic mind behind the likes of Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. However, Michael Keaton felt as though anybody but him should be afforded this opportunity when it came time to shoot Jackie Brown. As Tarantino would later note, Keaton's whole process was to convince me that he's not right for the role. However, that still couldn't stop Tarantino from completely ignoring Keaton's odd demands for him to cast his net elsewhere in the end, with the force behind the crime flick adding, "He never quite convinced me. Michael's whole thing is to deny himself and to say he's not right." In terms of how exactly QT managed to get Keaton on board with the whole idea of playing ATF agent Ray Nicolette, it turns out all it took was one night on the town, a whole lot of Jägermeister, and as Keaton would later reveal, the next thing I'm heading home and I'm doing the movie. That's one way to lure a bat into your particular brand of cave, I suppose. Number 4, Leonardo DiCaprio's no eye contact rule. Once upon a time in Hollywood. Still somehow upholding an unquestionable aura of mystery in an age of overexposure. It turns out that Leonardo DiCaprio goes to pretty extreme lengths to maintain said mystique when working on a feature. As revealed by The Hollywood Reporter, it was noted during Leo's time working on Quentin Tarantino's latest feature, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that crew members were ordered to follow a strict no eye contact rule when it came to the Rick Dalton star. It wasn't explained what the repercussions of an accidental glance DiCaprio's way would have been, and sources close to the Oscar-winning actor would quickly deny the rule actually being a thing in the first place. But with Leo himself not openly commenting on the validity of the staring decree, it's probably safer just staring at your shoes whenever this movie-making titan wanders onto set with a damn flamethrower. Number 3, Michael Madsen didn't want to be killed by Tim Roth, Reservoir Dogs. While he may have been content dancing around the warehouse in the midst of torturing a cop, Michael Madsen drew the line at being stuck in the middle of a death scene involving one particular co-star as it goes. As the Mr. Blonde actor would reveal during the QT8, the first 8 documentary flick, Madsen wasn't all too keen about stepping into that specific character's shoes due to the fact said personality would have been killed by then newcomer Tim Roth's Mr. Orange. In Madsen's own words on the matter, "I was like, hey man, who is Tim Roth? I would let Harvey Keitel kill me, but I'm not getting killed by Tim Roth." Even though Roth had recently appeared alongside Gary Oldman in a starring role in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, Madsen was still clearly unconvinced about his credentials coming into the project. However, by the time the two were both covered in fake blood post-warehouse gunfire, Madsen would reveal the pair eventually embraced their part in the project, both literally and figuratively, with said hug leading to both men being genuinely stuck in the middle of the set due to the aforementioned sticky stage blood. Number 2, John Travolta insisted on doing more than just the twist, Pulp Fiction. Of the many instantly iconic visuals ever committed to a Tarantino masterpiece, the sight of John Travolta's Vincent Vega and Uma Thurman's Mia Wallace shaking their stuff on a dance floor partway through Pulp Fiction's runtime sits as arguably the most memorable. Yet as the Grease and Saturday Night Fever legend would eventually reveal, the early versions of this sequence were a little more uninspired than the eventual joint busting of a move fans were treated to in the 1994 flick. Tarantino initially had his heart set on the pair solely deploying the twist as their move of choice in this jigging moment. But Travolta had other ideas, after claiming it's limited in how long one wants to watch someone do the twist. As Travolta would also confess during an appearance on The Late Late Show with James Corden, "When I was growing up, there were novelty dances. There were dances like the swim, and the Batman, and the hitchhiker, and the tighten up. Maybe we should widen the spectrum on this." Sure enough, sensing the legendary hip shaker likely knew what he was talking about on the matter, Tarantino allowed Travolta and Thurman to do far more than just twist in the finished article. Number 1, Brad Pitt did not want to beat Bruce Lee, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Never want to shy away from bringing controversial cinematic beats to life on screen. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood saw QT come under fire for his depiction of legendary martial artist Bruce Lee. But said critique would have likely been even more prevalent had the director not been convinced by the likes of Brad Pitt to slightly alter his vision for the infamous fight scene between the Oscar winners Cliff Booth and the fictional version of Lee played by Mike Moe. According to the film's co-stunt coordinator Robert Alonzo via Huffington Post, Pitt and many others had concerns over Booth picking up the definitive victory over Lee in the original showdown that would see the two's third and final round go uninterrupted. After Pitt in particular expressed his concerns on the matter, and Tarantino had tested a number of different iterations of that much longer battle between the two skilled fighters, the decision was finally made to have the fight be broken up before an official victor could be established. But said change-up still didn't keep many a Lee fan from seething at his fiercely arrogant portrayal in said picture, with Lee's daughter Shannon claiming the script treatment of her father in the film was really disheartening and I feel unnecessary. But oh boy, it could have been a whole lot worse. And that's our list of any other unusual demands made by Quentin Tarantino actors. Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and go and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more awesome articles just like the one this video you're watching right this second is based on. I've been Gareth from whatculture.com, as always, bringing you all this video goodness. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see your faces very, very soon. Bye bye!